friends, Nibs again. I'm going to get out here in the garage and do a little tinkering on a gun. This was a request by, I think I've had a couple of guys actually ask for this, and so decided I would finally get out here and give it a go. This is the newest iteration of the Crosman model 1377. They call it the American Classic. Pretty much the same gun as all the way back to like the model 130 pump action gun, and actually a pretty nice shooter for, especially for as cheap as they are. I think I picked this one up for like 50 bucks. I did finally get a trigger pull weight gauge, so we'll be able to test, do some before and afters on this guy, and we'll see what we can do. Did do a subscriber mail video a little while ago, and I did get some neat stuff. Got a couple of real nice punches. Finally got an honest to goodness gunsmith block for punching out pins and stuff. But let me bring you down to the tabletop here, and we'll get started. So I'm actually going to do this, the upgrades here, in a couple of steps, and I'm going to tell you why right now. The first one, all it requires is only removing one grip panel. I don't think even to do the other stuff that I'm going to do inside requires pulling this back grip panel off, but we'll get down that road in a minute. But the first piece, it literally is just taking this one grip panel off, and then you can take the trigger return spring out, which is unbelievably heavy in this guy. And so we're going to take a look at that. But first, before I start tearing it down, I want to do a couple of readings on this gun before. So I'm going to do it just the trigger without it being cocked. I want to see how heavy that pull is on there. So let me do that again. So it's pretty heavy. I'd say it's about 3.5 pounds, 3.6 pounds. I'm going to write that down just so we have something to refer to later. Now, I like this gun because, at least for doing this kind of work, because you can actually cock it and fire it without having to have it pumped up or loaded. I actually had one pump in there that last shot. So, but you can do that, and it'll actually give you the trigger pull weight without needing to so 5 pounds, 3.1 ounces. We'll do a couple of these just to I didn't ready it. So that's one thing that's kind of a little wonky with this one here. If you don't if you let that, see now that sensor just, it's already reading a reading there. So 5 pounds, 1.6 ounces. 5 pounds, 1.9 ounces. So I'm going to take a three pull average here. 4 pounds, 7.1 ounces. Now we'll do an average. 4 pounds, 14 ounces. So we'll write that down. All right. So now we're going to get in here, and so There's, like I said, I'm going to do this in 2 steps. The first part is pretty simple, and I think just about anybody can do it. So you just take this one screw out here for this right-hand side grip panel. And you could probably do it from the other side, I think, as well, but it really doesn't require taking both grip panels off. Now, let me bring it up to the camera here. Right here is the trigger return spring. Pretty accessible, but it's a monster heavy spring. I actually had this spring already here at the house from working on the Ruger Mark IV, Boomer X Ruger Mark IV. So now you just take a screwdriver or something and get underneath that spring, and you can pull it off there's a little post at the bottom of it, and you can see how much heavier that spring is compared to that one. I can't squeeze that one almost at all with my finger, and I can just bounce that one up and down. So you would just get that top back in the groove there, and then she's fighting me. Let me get my new magnetic tip screwdriver here, sent to me by one of my channel loyals. I'm really thankful for. And so now see, the key is you want the spring to be a lot lighter, but you gotta make sure it's going to cock back and hold that. There's actually a hammer just inside here that when you pull that back, it locks it. And then once you pump it up, the valve fills with air, and there's a little pin on the end of the valve. When you pull the trigger, that hammer falls forward and hits that valve, lets the air come up in here and push the BB down well, it can shoot BBs or pellets, but push the pellet down the barrel. So let's go ahead and do a couple more trigger pulls now. So I'm going to ready it, and I'm going to clear it so that we're starting with a fresh reading here. 1 pound, 13.7 ounces. £2, 15.2 ounces. 2 pounds, 11 ounces. So that would give me an average of 2 pounds, 8 ounces. So we cut our pull weight from 4 pounds, 14 ounces down to 2 pounds, 8 ounces already. So that's great. So I think, you know, just about anybody probably would be happy with that. But even though it is a much better feeling trigger already, as I'm pulling that, I can feel a little bit of grit, a little bit of nastiness there that I think we can make a little bit better. But here's where I was saying this is really not for the faint of heart. If you don't have a really good set of bifocals or superb eyesight, I would recommend not doing this. The safety spring and little detent ball in there are super tiny, and it is a fidgety little bit to get back in there. And if you're easily frustrated or somewhere in that type of ballpark, I would really recommend not proceeding any further. But we'll go ahead and do this anyway. So these, just as a bit of candidness as well, I had taken this apart earlier today. I haven't done any modification to it yet. I just took it apart to I mainly wanted to see if I had a spring or needed to stop at the hardware store and pick up some more springs, but I have not done any of the mods to it. But when we get this apart, I did see a couple of areas where I really think we can do some buffing and polishing on pieces and really make that trigger pull. You know, 2 pounds trigger pull on an air gun is very nice. But you know, we can make it smoother, and every little bit you can do to make a trigger better, you're going to end up. So I'm going to hold that safety there, and the ball still popped out on me, but so right down in here behind the trigger is where that ball is. Actually, these little screwdrivers are magnetic as well for me. So there's that little ball on the end of the. If you lose that, your safety won't work. So, and then there's a little spring there. I'm going to leave that alone. I don't need to pull that out. I can leave that in there, and it'll make it a lot easier to get the ball back in there before I put it back together. So there's 2 places that I think I can really make a great bit of improvement here, so that the trigger rides up on, has a little ball in the back here, not ball, but a little rounded piece of metal, and that rides against this little arm here that goes back and catches the, so when you cock it back, it's already cocked. So when you cock it back, this comes back and catches the hammer, and then when you pull the trigger back, this pushes up on this, but it also is kind of scraping on it there. So there's 2 places where I'm going to do some buffing and polishing. So right here at the back of the trigger, and on this piece, this arm, on the bottom of this arm, and then up in here, there's a little catch that catches the front of the hammer, and we're going to do a little bit of buffing on that as well. So go ahead and I'll pull this, leave that, just leave the safety right in place, and I'll show you these 2 pieces. They're really very gritty, I think they were just basically stamped out of a chunk of sheet metal, or you know, plate steel or whatever. But I don't know if you can see that. It's basically just a, no, actually it's the bottom here. There's a really heavy punch line there, and that's where this piece has to mate up against and move and push, and that's very rough there too. And then just like most of the guns I see, it's very rough there. So this is where the the hammer is going to ride against. So we're already getting pretty long here, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this while I do this buffing work, because this can take a little bit of time, and I don't want to make this video be like an hour long. But I'll bring you back on as soon as I'm done, and I'll show you what I did, and then we'll go ahead and put it back together. So it's probably going to be a 20-minute video anyway, but if I kept you on for the polishing, it'd probably be 30 or 40 minutes. So, but stand by, and I'll be right back. Alrighty, friends, so I'm back. Actually didn't take nearly as long as I thought it might to get these knocked down to a nice mirrored finish. So here on the end, maybe hard to see on the camera, but this little tip here is basically like a mirror now. This little tip here, which is where trigger is actually going to ride, and then the back side of the trigger where the two pieces meet. That really turned out nice. So now it's just getting them all back together. Not really a big deal. I do like this super lube grease with the Teflon in it. Don't need a lot. Just get a little bit on these surfaces where they are gonna made up here. And I'll get that one in there. Put a little bit on that lower section of that crossbar there. But you could really feel the grittiness across this little spot right here. I think this is going to make a huge difference. I'll just wait till I get it all together. I thought I might be able to play around with it, but so here's the real fidgety part, and I kind of figured out if I take these two little Craftsman screwdrivers that I have, and they're both magnetic, I can use one to reach down inside there and pull that spring back. Maybe. Having a hard time seeing with it tilted down like that. Let me see, one of these was smaller than the other. Once you catch that spring and pull it back, you just got to get that ball to drop down in there, hold it, and release the spring against it. So now this is where you don't want to breathe. So we want to get this little cover back on here, and it actually has a little tab right here that'll hold that spring in place once you get it. Now I gently work that back on before I'm just going to work that back and forth and make sure. So I got the detent ball back in there good. So that's the fidgety part already, and this uses a 1.5 millimeter Allen key to take these 3 screws in and out. I don't know if I said that earlier. So the process I use to clean up those tips, just to let you guys know, and I'm very light-handed with it, but I start out with I use wet dry sandpaper. I start out with some 400 grit, and then I move up to 600 grit, and then finally work with 1500 grit. I do have some even finer stuff, but once I get done with the 1500, those pieces are almost a mirror finish. Then I go to my Dremel tool with a felt pad on it, and I have some ultra fine jeweler's rouge, and I just put a little dab of that on there each time and polish the end of that piece that I'm working on, and it just puts a mirror finish on it, just as pretty as you can ever see. So now we're gonna put our trigger return spring back in here. And I don't think it's going to get any worse than 2 pounds, 2 pounds 8 ounces or whatever it was. So, but I don't feel that. So that's what I'm feeling for now. Is you could feel it like coarse metal, almost like a file scraping across steel. But yeah, I don't feel any of that anymore, and it just really breaks nice and crisp. I bet it'll be really nice once I get that other grip panel on there. But let's move back to the scale again here. See if it made any difference as far as the weight goes. Oh, jeez. I think that's right. Saying my weight went up 3 pounds. 2 pounds 15 ounces. So it doesn't look like we changed our pull weight at 2 pounds 9.9 ounces. 2 pounds 11 ounces. So it's still really, really nice. 2 pounds is 2.5 pounds is a really nice, and I think it really depends on where you put your 2 pounds 12. So yeah, it's looking like 210, 212 is about the average. There's 212 again. So, but where I had the 2.8 before, when I started to pull, you could feel there was a little bit of creep, because there was metal drag in there, and there's no movement at all, and it just breaks. So that is really nice. So all right, let me put this grip panel on here, and then we'll wrap it up. So pretty easy disassembly. Like I said, you don't even have to take the left side grip panel off. The right side grip panel comes off with 1 screw, 3 screws. If you're going to go deeper, then you can do the main mod without doing any farther than the grip panel. So, but all right, let me bring you up eye level here just for a minute. So that wasn't too bad. Go ahead and give that a try. Let's see if it makes any difference with a pump on there. No, it's awesome. So there you go. Couple of requests for this. American Classic. This is a 1377. I'm sure it would work just fine for the 1322 because they're exactly the same from what I understand, except for the barrel dimensions internally. So there you go. 1377 went from I was expecting it to be heavier. Honestly, I thought it was heavier just because of the grittiness you feel. But it was 4 pounds 14 ounces with a lot of creep and a lot of grit beforehand, and now we're about, I'm gonna call it 2.5 pounds. But there's no creep at all and no grit. It's just you start applying your pressure and it breaks. So that'll help out a lot with target shooting. I really look forward to putting this guy up against some of these other ones that I got. So, but anyway, this is going to be a pretty long video, but I hope you guys appreciate it. I really had a lot of fun doing it for you guys. If you like my channel, go ahead and like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell, and you'll be notified when I do post up new videos. But there you go. That was a lot of fun. Have a great day.